Minoans were a people that lived on the island of Crete during the Bronze Age. Crete is the largest island in Greece. Their history is divided between the early, middle, and late Minoan periods. The early Minoan period lasted about 1,000 years from 3000 BCE to 2000 BCE. The middle period was between 2000 BCE to 1550 BCE, and finally, the late Minoan period lasted from 1550 BCE to around 1100 BCE. The art that I will be discussing today is specifically from the Marine period, which occurred during the middle of the late Minoan period. During the Marine period, Minoan artists would go on to create many depictions of the sea and the creatures that lived within it. From this time, we see pottery with depictions of dolphins, fish, waves, seaweed, and many other aspects of the ocean. A lot of the pieces from this era are whimsical and dynamic. The motion conveyed in the art was meant to mirror the motion and energy of the ocean. The first piece we'll be looking at is a Minoan marine-style rhyton. A rhyton was a vessel used for drinking in ancient Greece. This particular one has a hole on the bottom and was most likely used to drink alcohol or liquor. It is decorated with 6 dolphins jumping out of the water against a rocky landscape. The rocky landscape shown on this piece of pottery mimics the rocky shores of the island itself. The item is excavated on the small island of Syra in the Gulf of Mirabello in eastern Crete. Syra once had a settlement on it, which was destroyed along with other settlements in the area due to some unknown catastrophe. Historians theorize that this catastrophe may have been a volcanic eruption or a large earthquake. Minoans were masters at making ceramics. They created these items for utility, but also for the sake of art. When looking at some of these pieces, the figures seen on the art are almost cartoonish in appearance. This is because Minoans were not just trying to replicate what they saw, but the impression of what they saw as well. A favorite of marine-style artists was the octopus. This is because its tentacles flowed well with the design of rounder pottery, and it enabled them to fill the whole surface with the design. These ceramic fragments are a prime example of the highly stylized forms Minoan artists chose to use. The depictions are not realistic at all. However, we can still see these images and recognize them as octopods. This specific style came later in this period, but many of the most well-known Minoan pottery have similar designs. These fragments came from 2 different jars, but they are believed to be painted by the same artist. It makes sense for the Minoans to be so inspired by the ocean. After all, they were a civilization that lived on an island completely surrounded by the sea. The ocean provided many resources for them and inevitably would have some major influence on their culture. The marine style was the last true style of pottery for the Minoans. Sometime after this period, the Mycenaeans would invade, altering their culture forever. Art like this is essential to understanding prehistoric cultures such as the Minoans. We can recognize different eras and different events in their civilization because of the styles of their art. With no written history, art is a huge key in understanding what life was like for them. It can give us insight into their values, their beliefs, and their culture. From Minoan art, we can see that their culture greatly respected and valued nature.